How's it going, guys? Austin here again. We're going to be going through the muscle models, and we're going to be taking a look at some of these models here. We're going to start out with this guy because we can see most of the muscles on this one, and then we'll go to some of these other models which have a lot less on them, the arm and the leg, that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright, so taking a look at the front of his face here, we can see the orbicularis oculi going around the eye. Alright, so taking a look at the front of his face here, we can see the orbicularis oculi going around the eye, the orbicularis oris going around the mouth. See the frontal belly of the epicranius. Probably see a little bit of the zygomaticus muscle coming from the zygomatic bone. And you might be able to see a little bit of that masseter muscle, which helps us with chewing, connecting down there to the mandible. Let's go ahead and move down to the torso. Sternocleidomastoid is going to be connected to the sternum all the way up to the mastoid process. So therefore its name is sternocleidomastoid there. See a little bit of the trapezius. You see part of that, the anterior surface there. You see the deltoid muscle, pectoralis major. Before we go further, just want to elaborate that this side is the surface level muscles, and this side is the deeper muscles that are underneath the surface level muscles. So you can see the pectoralis major over here on this side. This side we see the pectoralis minor. Over here you might be able to see a little bit of the serratus anterior on the surface level. And then we can see that serratus anterior muscles which connect to the ribs. You can see those a lot better over here on the visceral side. The rectus abdominis, those are your abdominal muscles. Internal versus external oblique. Again, we got to look at this. The deeper level is the internal oblique, which is underneath the external oblique over here. Okay, so over here, external oblique. And over here, we have internal oblique because we're looking at the deeper level of the muscles. Going out to the arm, we can see the deltoid muscle. We can see a little bit of the biceps brachii and a little bit of the triceps brachii. We're not really able to see any of the brachialis until we turn the model around here. Same thing on this side, we see the deltoid. We can see the biceps brachii. We can see the brachial radialis on this model, but not on this model. Okay, notice how the brachial radialis is on thumb side. See it over here on his right arm, but not on his left arm. You can see a little bit of that pronator teres. It's going to help us with pronation of the arm. Allows us to turn our arm inward. So when that contracts, we can rotate our thumb for pronation. Moving down here to the lower legs, we have our thigh gap muscles. And so we use gap, G-A-P, as a mnemonic. So G is the gracilis muscle. It's the most medial muscle. A is the adductor longus muscle, and then this little bitty part right there on both sides, which is covered up by the femoral artery and vein, that is the pectineus. So going through that, gracilis, adductor longus, pectineus. Sartorius muscle is the longest muscle on the body, going from the iliac crest up here all the way to the medial epicondyle. You can see the rectus femoris, which erects the femur, so it brings the femur up. And then you have the vastus medialis, which is on the medial side, and the vastus lateralis, which is on the lateral side. See the tensor fasciae latae, the TFL muscle right there. Going down here to the lower leg, we can see the anterior tibialis, or the tibialis anterior. Just posterior to that, you can see the extensor digitorum longus. And then posterior to that, we have the fibularis longus, which I don't think you guys can see too much. So we'll turn that around here. So going through those three again, you have the anterior tibialis, the extensor digitorum longus, and then the fibularis longus with its tendon, which goes behind the lateral malleolus of the fibula, which we learned about in the skeletal system. Moving to the posterior side of the body, we see the occipital belly of the epicranius. See that large epicranial aponeurosis. So remember, aponeurosis connect muscle to muscle, so they connect the frontal belly and the occipital belly of the aponeurosis. You can see the trapezius in all of its glory now, back here on the back side. See the latissimus dorsi muscle. Right here, the scapular muscles, we can see the infraspinatus. Remember that is going to be underneath the spine of the scapula. Look at it on this side. Look at the spine of the scapula. Look at the infraspinatus right underneath that. The teres major is right below the infraspinatus, so the teres major right there, and is mostly covered up by the latissimus dorsi. And we can see it a little bit better right there. It goes to the other side of the arm, helps participate in rotation of the arm at the shoulder. Part of the rotator cuff. Moving down here to the lower leg, we have the gluteus maximus as well as the gluteus medius, which is going to combine into the IT band, that tendon, the iliotibial tract. So make sure you call that the iliotibial tract and not the IT band. Over here, we have the semimembranosus and the semitendinosus, which is always on the medial side. So the semitendinosus is on top. You can see the tendon of it right there. So semitendinosus is right there, and semimembranosus is going to be laying underneath the semitendinosus. So we can see it on both sides of the tendinosus there. So over here on the lateral side of the hamstring, you have the biceps femoris. And so it kind of participates in the same action as the biceps brachii. Biceps really comes from two heads. However, this is the biceps femoris, so flexion of the leg. You got the gastrocnemius there. Underneath the gastrocnemius, we can see the soleus muscle. Just drop everything. Underneath the gastrocnemius, you have the soleus, and both of those are going to connect into the Achilles tendon. I'm going to go through this guy really quick so we can see parts of the epicranius. See the temporalis pretty good. A little bit of the masseter muscle. You see the orbicularis oculi going around the eye. Some more of the facial muscles like the zygomaticus. Pretty tiny, but those are there. Pectoralis major muscle, deltoid muscle, trapezius muscle, sternocleidomastoid, biceps brachii, brachialis, triceps brachii, brachioradialis, extensor digitorum, rectus abdominis, external oblique, internal oblique, sartorius muscle, vastus medialis, rectus femoris, vastus lateralis. We can't see too well there. You can see the vastus lateralis there a little bit better. Vastus medialis, rectus femoris, sartorius, going through the thigh gap muscles, the GAP muscles. So you have gracilis, the most medial, adductor longus, and then the pectineus right there. Moving down to the lower leg, you see the gastrocnemius right there. You can see part of the soleus. Moving down to the anterior part of the leg, you have the tibialis anterior, which does not have tendons going to the toes. You have the extensor digitorum longus with tendons going to the toes. And then we have the fibularis longus muscle, which goes around the lateral side of the foot with its tendon. Moving to the back, you see the temporalis muscle, sternocleidomastoid, trapezius muscle. You see the latissimus dorsi, the infraspinatus, the teres major. See the triceps brachii going down this arm, triceps brachii on this arm. You can see that brachioradialis is this top one right over here. You see the gluteus maximus and the gluteus medius here. Gluteus maximus, gluteus medius going into the iliotibial tract. You can see a little bit of the bicep femoris on the lateral side of the leg right there. Medial side of the leg has the semitendinosus on top, semimembranosus. You can see a little sliver right there, and part of it coming out of the medial side right there, semimembranosus, semitendinosus, and then the lateral side is the bicep femoris again. You have the gastrocnemius and the soleus. You see a little sliver of the soleus right there, and a little sliver of the soleus right there, and both of those are going to go into, are going to merge together into the Achilles tendon. So one thing, just want to elaborate, biceps brachii, brachioradialis, and then we can see the pronator teres right there. All right, so that pretty much covers our muscle models, and so hopefully you guys feel pretty good about that.